Welcome to another edition of the Bridge to Tallahassee, where we're talking about some really important legislative issues that impact our students. We're joined again today by our board chair, Karen Henderson. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
So, Karen, we were talking last time about some of the legislative platform issues that Brevard Public Schools is broaching with our legislators. And in particular, we're going to talk this week about how retention, remediation, and setting the school calendar can be a detriment to some of our students. So today, let's just start real quickly to talk about how does retention harm our students?
Well, the way the laws are currently written, they are written to tell teachers what to do when a kid gets a certain grade on a test on one day. And that is automatic retention. So for third graders, if they don't do well on that test, they are supposed to be automatically retained. The reality is that teachers already know by the time they take this test whether this student is being successful in third grade. We also have students who do really well in third grade but have a bad day on that one test. And this requires teachers to create portfolios for those kids to prove that they don't need to be retained and send them up to Tallahassee for review, which is a lot of extra work on teachers and a lot of angst on our students.
Shouldn't that really be more of a local decision instead of sending it up to Tallahassee? I mean, Tallahassee isn't monitoring the students' behaviors or some of the extra things that happen in their lives that might impact them.
Absolutely, and that's what we're after, is more local control. Again, the teachers know their students, and the people closest to the students should be determining whether they go on or not.
I think that's a really valid and important point. So let's move into remediation. The legislature right now indicates that certain students would have to go into remediation or remedial courses if they should not meet a proficient score on their one-time test, correct?
That is correct.
Why is this bad for students?
Well, what it does is it takes away opportunity for students. We have a lot of students who may have a bad day on that one test, who are successful in everything else they do, but what they have to do the following year is to give up one of their electives in order to take this remediation class for an entire semester. So we're taking away things from kids that they want to do in school, that sometimes these are things like band or art that actually keep kids in school.
It could be some of their dual enrollment classes or career and technical education programs, correct?
That is absolutely true.
These types of programs that prepare them for work right after school or give them a jump start into their post-secondary training.
That's true. And what we have found out from doing our own district research is that even if we look at the 10th grade students who have to have remediation based on their state score, few months later, 78% of them pass the ACT or other concordance scores that allow them to be successful in college. So the reality is that the state test does not predict their future.
Okay, so what would you recommend then in lieu of this forced remediation program?
Again, I think it's up to the local control, the teachers and the administration, to figure out what are the needs of a particular student. Was it a bad day, or do they really need help? If they do, let's get something in place. There might be some cases that might be good for students to have that kind of remediation because they're really not being successful. But to make it automatic from the state, written in a law, and taking away that local control where the teacher really knows the students is not good for kids.
Sounds like you're making an argument for a multi-metric assessment approach for our students. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You cannot just base everything on one day, on one test. These kids work hard all year long, and all of that should be included.
Okay, so let's talk about the school calendar. The school calendar is decided now based on how well the school district as a whole performs on that one-day test, correct?
That is correct.
And how does that negatively impact the school system as well as our students?
Well, what we like to do is have our end of course test, the finals of each semester, of the first semester, before Christmas. And if we have to change the calendar, kids would have to come back from Christmas break and then take their finals. And parents don't like it because their kids have to take their books with them to Christmas on Christmas vacation. Students don't like it because they have to study over the Christmas vacation. So it's a cleaner break for the students, for the teachers, for the parents to have it done beforehand.
Much like the college system is.
Yes, and also we're aligned with our colleges on our start dates. So that's very important because we have so many kids who are dual enrolled.
That's a really critical point that you're making, because we're really talking about getting these students educated, getting them some type of training, career education, and getting them into the workforce so that we can have a very successful community as well as for the state of Florida, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add today about the impact that assessment accountability, the way it is right now, is impacting our students?
Well, I think it's negatively impacting our students, unnecessarily. It also is negatively impacting our teachers because they're the ones who have to do the portfolios, and they're the ones who know that a kid is being successful in all other measures and have no choice but to send them to remediation or to retain them. So
if I'm watching this today, how do I get involved?
Well, you go online at www.brevardschools.org and look at our petition and sign. The reality is that our petition is asking parents to be involved in this process, to send a message to Tallahassee. And so if your students or you as a parent are unhappy with these kinds of measures being written into law to determine your student's success, then you need to join us and tell Tallahassee that we've had enough, and let's send a message together. Well,
this has been a great conversation. I know we're going to have a few more. We've got a few more topics that we want to tackle.
We do.
So at this point, this ends our latest edition of The Bridge to Tallahassee. We thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
For more information, go to www.brevardschools.org.